Hello and thank you for joining us. This is a monthly discussion for our Central Region Team Engagement virtual team. This call is open to the entire region. For those of you that have not attended before, we welcome you. We'll be discussing offer updates, answer questions, and most importantly, take field data for our products. Things like competitive information, customer success stories, and or suggestions for features and functionality. My name is Milos, I'm the area VTL, and Kim Leffler is our theater VTL. Here's a high-level agenda. We'll cover GRIP, just a quick reminder, also some updates on a range of topics, and we'll wrap up our meeting with a guest speaker today. So on the GRIP front, please let us know what your customers are asking for in conversations and RFPs, or maybe during design work, things like that. GRIP is the best forum for this, so products can only get better if we know what's happening in the field. So please don't be shy. So on the business process workflow front, last month we talked through some use cases, and in fact there's a document with dozens of samples we can use based on the vertical you might be working in. Also, we reviewed a demo site for live demonstrations that currently is reservationless. Recently we had Breeze 3.5 released. We've got some additional updates, but at a real high level, it does support IPv6. Can also support location-based selection of the media server, and of course for our CS1K customers, we now have a device adapter for those Nortel-like endpoints. On the team engagement front, quite a few updates. Last month, we covered some videos that we could use as demo alternatives for Equinox Attendant and Agent for Desktop, and also an updated Equinox client. This month, quite a few things. The Equinox Meeting Online has an updated offer. This is a cloud-based offer. If you're not familiar, we've got 3 flavors that range from $29 a month to $99 a month. The user experience is really for voice and video with collaboration that could be done from a browser, an Equinox client, and or devices like the CU360. And it can integrate into a PBX's on-prem, cloud, or hybrid system, and of course support both Avaya and third-party endpoints that run on either H.323 or SIP. For those of you that are on the UC distribution list, you might have seen some emails around tips for collaboration, specifically invites that go to people internally and externally. Kind of make it easy for the participant. Shortcuts for mobile users, like a single click for access, and also adding conference detail to your email signature just to make it easier for people to collaborate. I'll send out some more details later on. Also the Equinox guided selling book, the workbook. So this is going to be mandatory for all deals. So please make sure that you attend the Brainshark training. It's an email from Dino De Palma, so I'm not sure if I need to say more about that. On the Equinox client front, we've got some new workflow features, including a team button and a group busy. Also, we support Presence in Outlook, the Windows version, and there's a few other updates as well. The J100, the new line of phones that we have. We also have an emulator available that can be, is primarily directed towards developers, but can be used for customers as well. It's a Windows-based interface for testing and or training. And also a reminder on the end of sale for the 9600 phones, specifically the 9608G and the 9610G, or excuse me, the 9611G. December 10th or until supplies last. And customers need to start looking at the J100 series for replacements and or refresh. Anybody have a question? All right. On the infrastructure front, last month we talked about H.323 signaling being supported on the J100 series phones. We also talked through some SPC updates, for example, supporting WebRTC tunneling and some audio quality monitoring. And we wrapped up last month with the endpoint sales support distribution list. For anybody that doesn't know, it's device sales at avaya.com. This is the best way to get help on endpoints. So for this month, I got a handful of updates here. Some of you may have seen the virtual team distribution list conversation on link integrations. There was a little back and forth on how it works and what's required, and there's a really nice planning and deployment guide that was shared, and it describes federation with presence services. I'll share this after the call. On the Vantage front, we did a recent knowledge transfer on version 2. The K155 device, we did an overview on the hardware and the software, and also a discussion around device enrollment services. For Aura and Breeze updates, there was more of a sales enablement training, high level, for July product releases. It included some more items like CMS and Elite, but for us, I think the highlights were some strategies that we learned around targeting Aura and CS1K customers to get them up to date. We covered the Loyalty Together program, some of the J100 phones, also talked a little bit about Avaya Spaces, and also from a technical perspective, how products and applications packaging is happening today. There was a nice conversation around the CS1K customers moving to Aura, describing the device adapter, and also there was a list of top features that are supported as well, including some conversations around MADN and also the user experience in MobileX in an Aura environment. And finally, there were some updates on the latest version of Breeze supporting HA, specifically for Oceania customers. Went through some additional Aura features and support, and also some platform updates. So that was the sales enablement that went through, and I think it'd be worth a replay if you have some time. And finally, we've got the new experience. So this is going to be the single place to go for all things demo related. It's not released yet, but there was a little webinar a few weeks back where we were getting introduced to something that is coming. This is going to be a centralized location to share demo knowledge, scripts, setups, etc. And they provided some definitions around what a demo is versus a POC or a pilot or a lab. So the initial launch is going to include some vertical industry content like healthcare, government and public safety, education, hospitality, and financial services. And those are just the ones they're going to start with. The idea is to guide the field on how to structure and define some of the ways to get our new technology into a customer environment. So now to the last part of our conversation. I mentioned we were going to have a guest speaker today. For those of you that run into Microsoft in the field, you might have heard of Teams. So for a while it was in beta. Back in June it was released, and interestingly, if customers would like to try it, it doesn't cost them anything. They can use the cloud infrastructure as opposed to installing something local. And this is something that our speaker Carla is going to talk a little bit more about, but they have some interesting marketing. She pointed this out to me and I thought it was very interesting. Microsoft never says you need to upgrade or migrate, but they position it as using the new technology in parallel to the existing solution. So with that said, Carla?
Good morning, Milos. Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Tate. I'm a solutions consultant out of the Central Region. I'm in Kansas City. And happy Monday. My espresso machine broke this morning, so if I'm speaking slower, that's probably the reason why. But I just wanted to go over a few things. It was quite intriguing to me when I read the marketing materials from our competition, and it was pretty neat to see the way that Microsoft presented Teams to the industry. So like Milos said, they never said the word upgrade. They never said the word migrate to Teams. Throughout all of their marketing material, they just stated that we're going to, just start using it now, and then when you're ready, you can just turn down the old and continue using the new. They make it sound really simple in the way that they're marketing their new solutions. And so with that said, I just wanted to bring some things to everyone's attention about, it's not necessarily worrying about what Microsoft is doing or worrying about what RingCentral is doing. It's more all in the way that you sell the solution. And like I said, instead of using upgrade, they said just turn it on now, use it in parallel, turn down the old and keep using the new. And so instead of continuing to compete against the vendors with products and features, a way that maybe we can start thinking creatively is how can we figure out the business issues and trying to solve them? So I took a 14-hour course from Ionology. You guys might want to look it up. So it's a business development course. And this course is training that Ionology is given to C-level and management at other companies. And so these C-level people are actually taking this course to learn about digital transformation and their business strategies. And what I did was I took those 14 hours of training and I tried to get that consolidated down. And here's some of the highlights that I've included in this presentation. If you think about it, there's really money to be made providing Avaya solutions for the UC and the back office support staff. And a lot of consulting engagements I've been in, we really kind of focus on the contact center and forget about the back office staff. I was in an engagement here recently where they only had 400 contact center agents, but their back office staff, they had almost 700. And so including them in our conversation really helped to increase the deal. So some of the key points that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, that when we finally get the executive or line of business to start talking with us and involving us and getting them involved in the conversation, that these executives, they stay in 3 areas: planning, strategy, and exercising change. What is not important to them is technical information, what the products we're going to install and the features of them, and the tactics. How are we going to implement the solution? Maybe something to think about when building your discussion points is just to create a solution selling business-focused presentation. So when you're competing against other vendors, realize, the Salesforce.com and the Microsoft teams, they're already working with the line of business, and they're already seen as a digital innovator. And we need to get to that point. So when we're building our presentations, I always recommend that the executives, when they come into the meeting, they want to know that what we're proposing is more affordable, accessible, effective. How is it easier to use? They want to know about less of a footprint, and that's not a data center footprint. That means, how can I reduce the number of interactions or transactions that I have in my operations? And then also compete aggressively and or beat competitors by trying to help them figure out offering a new service or a new outcome to their consumer. So I'm on slide 10, Milos.
Got it.
Okay, thank you. So there's a difference between a technical implementation plan versus a digital transformation business strategy. So one thing is, I always ask the C-level executives, what is their change state? And they understand what that means. Are they going through a reorganization? Are they, buying new companies and they have to, reorganize some of their departments? When you ask them, what is your change state? They'll rattle off things to you, and those are all business strategies that you can add to your presentation when you come back and give them the proposal of what kind of solution and what's the right solution for them. And then I always ask, where are you spending money to make money? So after consulting with the customer, the next presentation to give would be focused in on business reasons for the why, and propose a solution that's useful to them and their business. So help them to understand, if we put in this contact center transformation solution, these are all your values and benefits that you'll have. So one thing is, if you think about it, a digital transformation strategy is too technically focused if you see product names appearing in the strategy. That's really not a strategy. That's called a technical implementation plan. So one of the key things that in this Ionology business course was being a digital innovator versus just doing digital. So successful vendors come in and they help their customers become a digital company, not just a company that comes in or a vendor that comes in and just digitizes certain things in a silo. And it's a lot easier, and this quote was from Ionology. I thought it was great. It's a lot easier for companies to be pushed towards a digital transformation business strategy as opposed to the technical pull. And from an executive point of view, the business strategy creates a competitive advantage, and then the innovative people and culture sustain it. And then lastly, the technology and tactics, always understand when to apply those, and this is a means by which the business strategy is delivered. So if you think about it, if we continue to stay in a IT realm and continue to talk to the IT folks, then the executives, they don't want to talk about applying technology. That's how the business strategy is delivered, but IT can do that for them. So when they're in the meeting and we're talking about technology tactics, they turn off because they have IT to help them do that. So slide 13, Milos, the digital innovator versus doing digital. So successful vendors come in and they talk about how they're going to change their business for, and maybe that's workflows, maybe that's something in their business operations. There's all types of different scenarios, and then they also talk about how we're going to innovate and re-innovate the business instead of leading with the technology. So companies and their vendors, think about this. Try not to go in and digitize everything. What I try to stay within my lane is that when I don't want to digitize every single journey unless that journey can be improved, and then the improvement can be reported in dollar signs, in dollars, to the stakeholders. So unless I have some kind of cost savings, ROI, I don't digitize that journey, because it's hard to sell if we're just going in and digitizing everything. Only digitize to reduce the number of steps or interactions and build the business attributes according to the need. And then understand that in the presentations I've seen with Oceana, we talk about technical attributes, which is fine. Those are, for an example, caller ID, geography, language, age, but really business attributes are different. Business attributes actually are branding, speed, promos, campaigns, a specific consumer need that we could solve for them or resolve or provide. From the medical world, that my background is pharmaceuticals. So for an example, I would have loved to have a way to handle a business problem when we had adverse events for medical issues from our patients. So if there was an adverse event, that's something that we were providing to our patient, and they were calling in, I would have loved to have been able to put a business attribute, associate that with a technical attribute, and get those calls to the right people. Instead, we were scrambling. So kind of think about those two differentiators as well. I thought that was really great information from the course that I had taken. So the next steps, I wrote out a complete white paper. I think it's like 14 pages that includes other ways of how Avaya can compete against Microsoft and how to think like an executive so that you can come in and have a mindset of a business approach in addition to the technical approach. I always tell people a sales tip would be that if you're still talking to the IT team, that's fine. But when you go in and give them a presentation or the questions that you start asking them in some type of consultant engagement with them, I always ask so many business strategic questions that they can't answer them, and they actually go get their business people and bring them into the meeting. And then we, continue down the road with more of a business strategy and a business conversation of what we can do for them than the technical and tactic conversation. And that's been working out really well. If you guys want to get that white paper, send me an email and I'd be happy to get that to you. I'm here to support the account teams from a solution consultant role. For your contact center and UC opportunities. Another bonus is I'm still underneath the engineer team, so my engagements are non-billable at this time. That may change in the future, but at this time, I'd be happy to help support you in any way. And that's all I had, Milos.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome. Any questions, team?
Carla, I have a question. At what part of the sales cycle do you get involved?
So there's two ways that I've been getting involved. So actually three. With the discovery workshop, after that discovery workshop is done, and we've all been through those, and then the last page of those discovery workshops is all the different technology solutions that we should start working on, Breeze, Oceana. What I do is when those are prioritized by the team and the customer, then I come in and continue with consulting engagements to help sell that and get the business reasons why, the ROI, the cost savings, and that's from meeting with the customer and the account team, so that when we're ready to present the solution, that we have the justification and the cost justification of why are we putting in the solution. It's not how are we going to implement it, but answer the why. So that's one way I'm engaged. Another way I've been engaged is David Perry and Susan Terry have been including me on different cloud deals. So for an example, we just did a cloud deal with an insurance company, and it ended up the CIO was asking for cloud, and the scenario that was recommended was actually a managed services solution that included both the contact center, the back office support staff, and UC. The third way that I'm engaged also is that if you have a specific engagement, for an example, I did a very large engagement that had $1 million a month ROI with a Goodyear tire, and that was for outbound collections. So there's specific consulting engagements I'd be happy to help with, either engaging with your customer or being on the account team planning calls. I would be happy to help with those as well.
Thank you. That's helpful. Any other questions from the team?
And what I'm trying to do is, there was a great comment that was made last Friday when I gave this presentation to my team, is that, upper management's telling all of us to, sell to the business side, and all of our presentations are still technology focused. So what I've been doing in the last year is I've been trying to put together presentations and templates that are business focused. And I know that there's a team that's specifically working on those, and those will start getting distributed here shortly. So if you are in a, say you're talking to your customer about accounts receivable collections, and you want to sell them Palm and Experience Portal and all these other things. I have the presentation, a value and benefits slide for those that you can give to the executives. So let me know, and I'd be happy to share that information with you. And that's all I had, Milos. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I'm going to stop the
You're welcome.
recording.